So this is redo number 5, but this is going to be the last attempt, so hopefully it will go well. So let me start again by letting you know that anxiety is your mind and your body's way of protecting yourself. So when it senses danger, you get a heightened awareness inside your body, and it's to tell you to be on alert. Sometimes, though, you make too much of that hormone that produces that anxiety feeling, and it turns into a panic attack, which is a little bit different. Um, Certain levels of the hormones in your brain are good for anxiety because they keep you alert and they keep you focused on what you're working on. So there are different types of anxiety, reasons for anxiety. The first one is OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. So when you have obsessive compulsive disorder, your mind is constantly racing, but it's thinking the same thought over and over again until the only relief you're going to get is to complete whatever action that you're thinking about. So, for example, for myself, I have OCD. So in the morning, I might get in the car and I might say, okay, did I lock the door? I don't remember if I locked the door. What's going to happen if I lock the door? If I didn't lock the door, somebody is going to get into the house. I have to go back. I have to check to make sure the door is locked. And then once I'm back at the house, I'm checking to make sure the coffee pot is unplugged. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So OCD is definitely one way that you can get a panic attack. Another way that you can have a panic attack is through trauma, a one-time trauma, say a death of somebody that you love dearly, or an accident, or something like that, um, will trigger some anxiety, of course, in your life. Um, the third way that you can have anxiety or a panic attack is through a specific phobia. So, right now, what's going on with COVID, a lot of people are getting agoraphobic. And agoraphobia is the fear of leaving your house. So it might take somebody an hour to get ready to go to ShopRite because they are afraid that something's going to happen. They might be afraid that they're going to get into a car accident. They might be afraid that when they get to ShopRite, there's not going to be any carts left. They might be afraid that they're going to run into somebody and they don't look their best. So all these thoughts are going through their head and they decide, you know what, I can't do it. I'm going to stay home. And now with the COVID, a lot of people are scared to go out simply because they're afraid of catching the COVID. And that in and of itself is anxiety provoking. Another way that you have anxiety is through PTSD. So as domestic violence survivors, we definitely all have our own element of PTSD. And mine is my startle reflex is really, really bad. So if my son gets home in the whatever, for me it's the middle of the night, it's probably 10 o'clock. When he gets home, he used to wake me up just to let me know he was home, and I would jump and hit the ceiling. My startle reflex is so bad. So, what we decided to do was when he gets home, he will text me, and when I wake up to check my phone, and then I will know he is safe and he is home. But my startle reflex is from years of the abuse and being afraid of doing the wrong thing or performing something in the wrong manner, or somebody coming after you that startles you. So I do have a very bad startle reflex. Um, there is something called general anxiety disorder, and that is when there is no reason except for the chemicals that you just have an anxiety, panicking feeling all the time, which I also have, and it is no fun to live with. You take something and you bring it to the worst negative outcome there can be. So, for example, I'm going to use ShopRite again. You finally get out of your house and you get to ShopRite and you have your mask on, but you're afraid. You're afraid that somebody is not wearing their mask properly and it's under their nose. Once it's under their nose, you know that the aerosol is coming out. You're afraid you're going to walk into it. You're afraid you're going to get COVID. You get to the point where you're holding your breath in front of anybody who's not wearing a mask properly or that you perceive is wearing a mask improperly. That is generalized anxiety. That's just not saying, okay, I need to take precautions when I go to ShopRite. That is taking it to the worst outcome because then, of course, I think I'm going to get COVID, and what's going to happen if I get COVID, and on and on and on, which produces the anxiety attack. Um, there's also certain biological factors and genetic factors that make you more prone to having anxiety and panic attacks. So, if your mother or your father, for example, is prone to anxiety, um, you might be blessed with that gene as well. I know my sister and I are both blessed with it. And I know my grandmother and my mother a little bit suffers from it as well. So, the best thing you can do is really educate yourself on the anxiety, accept that it's happening to you, that you do have this disorder, practice some mindfulness, which I'm going to go over with you in a few minutes. And one of the psychological approaches to anxiety is called exposure therapy. So, for me, I am afraid of an elevator. I'm afraid of going in one, not anymore, but I used to be. So, exposure therapy is when you picture yourself walking up to an elevator door, and that's all you're doing. And then when you get comfortable doing that, you watch the elevator door open. And when you're comfortable with that, you step in the elevator. So you're going step by step by step, and you're exposing yourself to your fears so you realize that they're not so scary after all. And that's what I did, especially with the elevator. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can treat anxiety, also through counseling or through speaking with a trauma coach. Um, you can also go through that route for people to help you as well. I'm just going to go to my notes for a moment because I did have a lot written down. Some common causes for a panic attack is, as I said, the genetics, the OCD. It's also if you have hypoglycemia, so if you have diabetes or you have an issue with your sugar levels, when they go too low, it mimics a panic attack. Your brain is not getting the right chemicals and you feel very shaky, you feel very nervous, and you feel scared and panicking, and that's but really it's because your glucose levels are so low. So if you are diabetic and you're feeling that way, you're going to want to check your glucose level. Another physical sickness or illness is an ear infection. So sometimes you get a really bad inner ear infection and it affects you being dizzy, it affects you being nauseous, it affects the way you feel, you're detached from your body. Again, you want to get that checked as well. But if there's nothing, none of those things are wrong, then um, then you could be just having a regular panic attack. So I'm going to give you some ways. I'm going back to my notes again. I'm going to give you some ways on how to handle a panic attack. So go back a page. The first thing that you need to do is control your breathing. So you're going to breathe in through your mouth for the count of 4. So, and then you're going to hold it. and then you're going to let it out slowly through the count of 4 as well. So that way, you do that 4 or 5 times. It's a natural way for your body to calm itself down. You're focusing on your breathing is getting slower, your body is signaled that everything is okay. You also can just remind yourself. You can remind yourself that you're having a panic attack. You know that you're going to be okay. You've been through this before. You know how it feels. You know how it ends. You're going to be all right. Just keep repeating and repeating that to yourself until the feeling passes. Third way that you can help yourself when you're having a panic attack is to close your eyes. Sometimes when you close out all the other stimuli in in the room or the area that you are and you just close your eyes and focus on your breathing, that also brings your anxiety level down and helps you to calm down. Mindfulness, we talked about that before. So, mindfulness is really helpful to bring you into the moment. And what you should do when you're having a panic attack is basically put both feet on the floor and put them down straight like this so that that's called grounding. You physically feel that you are in the room and you don't feel so detached from your body. You should also put your hands on your pants, rub them back and forth, feel the material, focus on the material. And once you start focusing on the fact that your feet are grounded, you're okay, the anxiety level also tends to go down. So another suggestion is when you feel that you're in a panic attack is to focus on an object. So for example, I pick a clock. I feel the panic coming on. I feel like I can't breathe. I'm nauseous. Am I having a heart attack? I start panicking. I stare at something. I stare at the clock. I watch the second hand going, I'm so sorry. Um, I watch the second hand ticking. If there's a design on the clock, I'm looking at that very closely and examining it. And sometimes when you change your focus, your anxiety level tends to go down as well. Um, Another thing you can do is muscle relaxation techniques. So I'm going to use my hands to show you. You clench your fist and you squeeze as hard as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you release. Okay, you can scrunch up your face. Mm, mm, and then release. So you do that through your whole body, it tends to tense you up and then relax you. And it also helps the anxiety to lessen. Um, One of my favorite ways is to think about your happy place. So you want to think about a place that's calm, a place where maybe you're at the beach and you can hear the waves crashing, or you're in a forest and you're watching the snow fall and it's calming. You don't want to think about New York City at that point because you don't want to hear all that hustle and bustle and stimuli that will make you panic further. Exercise is also a really good way to calm yourself down from a panic attack. Um, if you are able, you can walk around the block, or you can walk from one building to another if you're at work, or even one office space to another office space, because that gets your endorphins moving, and those are your happy hormones. They talk about the runner having a happy or a runner's high, and that's because your body releases those endorphins when you're exercising. Another way is to breathe in some essential oils, which will help you. My friend Angela is very involved in that, and she turned me on to lavender. If you want to put it in a diffuser or you want to get a roll on, and you can roll it right here on your wrist and just breathe it in slowly. That has a calming effect on you. as does chamomile tea. So chamomile tea has a great calming effect on you too. It's an herb that will calm you down. Um, One of the last techniques that you can use is repeating a mantra in your head. So I understand that not everybody believes in God, everybody has their own mantra that they say to themselves. But for me, what I do is I tap while I'm going. So we learn in school that children can better learn how to sound out a word when they're tapping it. So, ooh, ooh, blue. So what I do is I tap out, God is with me. And I continually tap it out, God is with me, until again the anxiety level calms down. The last way that you can deal with a panic or anxiety attack or disorder is through medication. So, anxiety and depression are definitely best friends. Chances are, if you have anxiety, you have some sort of depressive disease with it as well. And there is no harm in taking medication. There should be no stigma in taking medication for depression and anxiety. If you are a diabetic, you're taking insulin. If you're sick, you're taking an antibiotic. Well, this is something else that you might need in order to make your life better, to enrich your life. And so they have some antidepressants that help you with your anxiety. They have Prozac or Lexapro or Zoloft. Any of those are going to help you with your depression, and they're going to help touch on your anxiety as well. And then there's also anti-anxiety medications, which are Xanax and Buspar. I honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I take both of them because my anxiety is extremely high right now with the COVID that's going on. I have two children who are immunocompromised, and I worry about that night and day. And I already have general anxiety, so it's been a difficult time for me. So there is no shame in sharing that. We all have something. So my last suggestion would be to go to your doctor and get on some type of meds that will help the chemicals in your brain while you're working through therapy or some of these other suggestions I gave you to keep your anxiety low. Um, in the stream tonight, there were a couple of I'm so sorry, a couple of links for you guys. Boundary Boot Camp, the price is going up after Sunday, so you can still get the early bird price of $30. There was also a link to join my 5 free day masterclass on anxiety. So it's a go at your own pace class. I will have 5 days mapped out for you, and you can go through them as quickly or as slowly as you need to. But you need to sign up for that. It is free. And if you sign up, I'm going to pick one winner to have a 30-minute consultation with on the phone. They get to tell me whatever they need to tell me or ask me any questions that they have concerns about. And lastly, there was a link in that description that showed you how to make an appointment with me, which is really exciting. So you can do a free consultation so we can decide if we work well together. And then if you want to do a 15-minute phone call or a 30-minute phone call, that's available. And texting is also available. If you plan or if you think you're going to need my services in a more regularized way, once a week, twice a week, then we can go from there and set up a certain time each week to talk to each other. Okay, I am so sorry once again for the glitch. I'm hoping that will never happen again, but if it does, it's part of life. I have anxiety. It definitely gave me an anxiety attack, but I guess in a way it's kind of good because you got to see me go through it and you got to see me come out the other side. So I hope you guys all have a great night and I hope you are able to enjoy this video so that you can learn what you came to learn. Have a good night. Thank you.